This past Saturday in Indianapolis, Indiana, WWE Wrestlepalooza took place. And there were some not so good reactions to the PLE as a whole. A lot of stuff going down. Now, Dave's not here, so I don't have the opportunity to chastise him, but I will chastise him when he comes back. Because I was listening back to some of the clips from last week, and because I was editing, putting stuff on the YouTube channel and stuff. And that son of a bitch said, you know what? I know you. And you're going to cave. And you're going to get the ESPN. And then and that's how you're going to watch the pay-per-view. And I was not as sure as he was. So, the day of the show, Saturday, we took my son to a play date. One of his best friends took him to an indoor playground. They went nuts. Not an indoor playground. It's like a how can I describe it? It's like an indoor urban air type situation. This is a trampoline park with an arcade and slides and all kinds of weird shit, foam pits, all kinds of cool shit. So him and his buddy are playing around or whatever. I got stuck with shoe duty, so I'm over at the table, and my wife goes, "Hey, you watching the pay-per-view tonight?" I was like, yeah, I'd like to, but I'm not really sure, even now as we speak, how this is going to work. And I mentioned on the last show that we had the bundle. We had Disney, Hulu, and Max. So Steph goes, can we change the bundle to Disney, Hulu, and ESPN because they offer that bundle for the same exact price? So I said, we could, but I like Max. I like the shit that's on Max. So, after some research, we realized that Max on its own is still very affordable for us, whilst making the package more realistic for us. Disney, Hulu, ESPN. So, I decided, okay, so we'll make the trade. I'll get rid of Max from the bundle for ESPN, and then I'll just pay for Max on its own, which is cheaper than the $29.99. It's like $16 or something like that. So we're good. If anything, I'm just adding $16. That's no big deal. Okay, fine, whatever. And so I go to the Hulu. For some reason, it's Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. But the only way to manage my account was to go to Hulu. So I went to Hulu to manage the account, and I wanted to change my subscription to include ESPN. It gives you the step-by-steps on how to do that. So I followed the steps. And then I decided for the ESPN, I put it through. And then when I put it through, it didn't refresh. So even though I kept changing it over and over and over again, it wasn't giving me ESPN. So I remember the last time I had an issue with my billing stuff, they had an online chat with an agent. So I said, you know what, I'll go to customer service, I'll figure this out. So I go to customer service, I tell them that I want to change my bundle from Max to ESPN. I'm trying to do that on the app, and it just won't let me. So I'm wondering if I could do it here. She said, yeah, no problem. Then she asked me she goes, is it okay if I ask you a few questions concerning your account since you're attempting to change your subscription that might affect your billing? I said, okay. In my head, I'm thinking the price is comparable, so I don't know how it changes my billing all that much, but it is a change in billing. So, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So she puts me on this unrelenting barrage of questions. Starts off normal, credit card stuff, billing stuff, when's the last time you had a payment, the whole shebang. Then it starts getting into weird shit. All of a sudden now she's asking me what devices I watch Hulu on, which, I guess my ass wasn't an appropriate answer to that. It's like, what kind of, laptop, phone, it depends on where the fuck I'm at. I don't just have a singular area dedicated to just watching fucking Hulu, Disney, or Max or whatever the fuck. So I told her, that exact answer with devices, and then she goes, "Okay, what brand of devices are those? Like, what brand of TV? What brand of?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I don't have that shit memorized. I don't know what brand my fucking TV is, or cause I have like 3 TVs in my house. I don't. They are not all the same fucking brand. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it now. There's a Toshiba in my room. There's a Vizio in the living room, and I think there's a Sony in my son's room. So I don't fucking know." At the time, I didn't know the fucking answer to that question. I know it now because I was curious, and I came home and looked. And she goes, "Okay, what were the last 2 things that you viewed on Hulu in the last 30 days?" I'm like, is this chick for fucking real? So I was like, I gave her mine, and the one on my dad profile, and she said it was wrong. I was like, "Ma'am, it's my account. It's not wrong." And I sent her a snapshot. This is a chat where you could take pictures and you can send it to the chat so that the person on the other side can see it. I said, "It's right here." And she said, "Well, do you have any other profiles on the account?" I was like, "I mean, a couple." So I sent her the last 2 from my wife. And he goes, "That's wrong." I was like, son of a bitch. And I put for my son, Alex. And I sent her those. And she goes, "Nope, that's wrong." I said, "What the fuck are we doing here?" So the other only profile on my account is my sister's opened up a profile so that they can watch Hulu at my house without disrupting whatever my algorithm or my wife's algorithm is. So because they're over here a lot and they watch Alex for us from time to time, so they got their own profile. So I said, "Okay, here's my sister's profile," and that was correct. And I said, "Motherfucker," right? I'm getting agitated. I was on the phone for like an hour and change. And then all of a sudden, the one that the fucking straw that broke the camel's back for me, I couldn't do this shit anymore. She asked me, when did I open the Hulu account? Like, when did I start paying for like Hulu? When did I first get it? I said, "Ma'am, what in the fuck are we?" I lost my shit. I said, "What the fuck are we doing? What is this? I just sent you snapshots. I very clearly have access to this fucking account. The email address that is attached to my streaming devices are my personal email, obviously, but it's a personal email that has my name on it. So my email for the streaming site is my shoot name down to the JR. So I was like, this is very, very, very clearly me. So what the fuck are we doing at this point? So she said, well, these are billing questions that the company has us asked to make sure about the account and this, so, and the fourth. And then says, if we're not able to verify all of the information, what we could do is we could cancel the bundle outright. And then you just have to re-sign up for a new bundle. And I about threw my phone against the wall almost, because that's what I thought we were going to do. As previously stated, I had been on the phone with customer service with Hulu before for a very similar issue, and that's what we did. We canceled the as a matter of fact, now that I'm saying it out loud, I remember the exact issue. The exact issue was I was paying for the apps separately, and it was obviously cheaper to do a bundle. So I had got on the customer service chat to make sure all of my shit could be bundled so I could pay less. They agreed, and I went through Hulu to get it all put into a bundle. That shit took 10 minutes, 15 minutes. This chick had me on for like an hour. And all she really wanted me to do was the shit that I did the first time for the 15 minutes. Just cancel your fucking subscriptions outright. Just cancel them and then re-sign up. I said, "Man, I thought this is what we were fucking doing. Are you kidding me? You putting me through all this shit and we're not even doing it the way that we're supposed to be doing it?" I said, "Ma'am, cancel the fucking subscriptions. Just fucking cancel them. so I can do what I got to do. And she canceled them, and then I signed up. That shit took 2 seconds. So what the fuck are we doing? Why are we going through this bullshit? For fuck's sake. And then after we got that fucking taken care of, then I went on and fucking did my max so I can have it all together. Otherwise I'll forget. Then I'll go to work and I'll put my max on and it won't fucking work and I'll be pissy and in a bad mood. So I took care of everything. But Hulu was trying extra hard not for me to be able to get this fucking pay-per-view. They were trying. They were doing their damnedest to make sure that I didn't get this fucking pay-per-view. So I do get the pay-per-view. And I don't watch the pay-per-view on time because I said we're out doing stuff with my son. So by the time I got home, we're like an hour and change deep into the show as it is. So I had decided I'm gonna test this app out, right? I'm up, I'm on it, I got it. We're gonna watch the fucking pay-per-view. And so, like I said, it's already been on for a while. So I go to Disney because that was the blip I got on my phone. I don't have the ESPN app on my phone, but I do have Disney Plus on my phone. So when the pay-per-view started, Disney Plus sent me a message, like a notification on the phone. It said WWE Wrestlepalooza will begin, blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you, if you listen to last week's show, that you guys understand my love for Disney Plus and for Disney properties just in general. I love Disney stuff. And to see Disney have WWE on its app, to me, was just, it was heaven for me. It was heaven. I was just like, this is everything that I want all in one space. It's awesome. So I put it on. And the second that I put it on, I start experiencing exactly what everybody else was experiencing, apparently. Choked up system, glitch. It was hard to listen to and hard to watch. And we've experienced this before, right? I remember the first time I saw a PLE on Peacock, it was the same shit. Just too much going on all at once, chokes up the whole system. Same thing when they started doing Raw on Netflix. It's too much for the system. It just chokes everything up. It's so funny because I was saying when we were sitting there watching the show, me and my wife and my son were watching the show. We're watching it as a family, and I said, every time a new entity buys a WWE product or a show or buys content, they buy the content because they know that it's a very popular thing. People will pay for it. People will enjoy it. And yet they always seem surprised by the amount of people who actually sit down and try to watch the pay-per-view. Because it ends up being way more than they thought it was going to be, and then it chokes up the system and then has a whole issue. I eventually got cleared up. It didn't do it for the entire night, but that beginning was very rough. Very rough. I also said that if we're going to be petty, let's be petty all the way through. And that's exactly what happened here, because they opened up the show with a package, as I mentioned earlier, a package that showcased all of their history between not just WWE, but WWE and ESPN, with the commercials, with the programming, with the shows, everything they did back in the day through ESPN. ESPN, despite being what folks would call the real sports network, has had their hands in WWE programming for quite a while, and they've showed a lot of that in this package. The package was great hype. I wish I didn't have a choked up system when it was on. I ended up watching it the next day in a much better setup, so I could just watch it straight through and really get a feel for it. But it was dope. It was good stuff, and it really got you hyped for Wrestlepalooza, or at least it got me hyped for Wrestlepalooza. And then the pettiness came out, because Lesnar and John Cena were first. I said it on the show last week. Petty. Just be petty all. If you're going to be petty all the way, baby. And this was them being petty all the way. Lesnar and John Cena to start off the motherfucking pay-per-view is petty persona non grata. That is the ultimate pettiness. However, me being correct on calling the match and me being correct on the length. Because I said, this is John Cena and Brock Lesnar. This match isn't going past 10 minutes. If it was a Lesnar win, it doesn't go past 10 minutes. If it's a Cena win, we're now somewhere more in the 15-minute mark. And, well, it happened exactly the way that I said it would happen, except for one small caveat. When I said that it would go less than 10 minutes, that was not the match I had in my head. I think, if I remember correctly, I remember saying that the finish of this match is going to be very interesting, because how do you beat John on the farewell tour? But how do you beat Lesnar on his return? This is his return, fresh off a multi-year deal. I was saying on the show, so how do you get out of this? How does this work? And the answer to the question was they did not know. That's the end result. They didn't know how to get out of this shit. If they've got a plan, it's not gonna go the way that they think that it's gonna go. We'll put it that way. Because we've seen this match before, folks. We've seen this match before. We've seen Lesnar do the whole "will be dominant" thing. We saw them do the whole, like when people were upset that Lesnar beat the streak, we're building Lesnar. We're building Lesnar for who? We're building Lesnar for this person. We're building Lesnar for this person. When they were building Brock Lesnar for Drew McIntyre, or when they were building Brock Lesnar for Cody Rhodes. So now the question to me becomes, if this was, we're going to build Lesnar for someone else all over again, build him for who? Because the idea that I keep hearing, and I have heard for quite a while, is they want Lesnar and Gunther at WrestleMania. You don't need Lesnar to burn through people, let alone John Cena on his retirement tour, to build him for a Gunther match. That match is going to sell itself. That match that's a main event anywhere in the civilized world. That's a WrestleMania quality match. That does not need John Cena to fall on the sword for. I'm sorry, it doesn't. This was weird. All the momentum that I had coming into this day, because I was hyped all day. I was genuinely excited for this show. And that first match destroyed me. Destroyed me. What the fuck is this? In the eyes of, and if you're an ESPN subscriber, because I thought about this. I said, if you're an ESPN subscriber, not a WWE fan, you just rolled into your app or to the website or whatever, and you saw that wrestling was going to be on, and I don't know, call it morbid curiosity. You click the button, and you check out the pay-per-view, and the first thing you see is Brock Lesnar just owning the fuck out of some old dude. I think that makes sense to them. Oh, it's Lesnar, former UFC guy, right? Yeah, he should be kicking the shit out of people. This makes a whole lot of sense. But how many people did that? How many people were on that app who don't like wrestling or never seen wrestling and then tuned into wrestling? I gotta think that's a smaller percentage of people than the people who specifically came to that app because of the pay-per-view, and because they wanted to see this pay-per-view, and because they wanted to see John Cena on his farewell tour. And this is what they gave him. This is what they produced. And it wasn't. And this match, for the record, this match is the exact same match that Lesnar and Cena had after Lesnar had beaten the streak. And Cena's excuse, reason, however you want to look at it, for the way that he sold that match to Lesnar, he said, if I have a competitive match with Lesnar following what he did at WrestleMania in defeating the streak, then we ruined everything we did to get that heat on Lesnar from the streak. When he said that at that time, it clicked and it made sense. As he said in the interview, the old Arn Anderson quote, "It's just not your night, kid. It's just not your night. That's it. It's Lesnar's night. So let's just get in there and do what we need to do." But that Wrestlepalooza was not Lesnar's night. That was your night. And I know John's not the kind of person to just sit there and just pull rank like that. I'm not saying he's never done it, but in a situation where it's solely just a situation where he's going to go to bat and it's solely just going to benefit him is, in fact, a rarity for someone like him. But sweet baby Jesus, if you were going to do it, I'm going to safely assume your retirement tour is the time to fucking do it. This was not the match it should have been. There's no excuse for it. There's no reason for it. None of the above. This should not have gone this way. It did not have to go this way. Even if the end result you wanted was Lesnar over Cena, there's a million and one ways that could have gone as opposed to the way that it did go. And I don't know who made the call, and it's not like they have to run the call by me or anything like that. But this was no good. This put a sour taste on the rest of the show. We have 4 other matches to talk about here. But if we're being brutally honest, none of them mattered after this. This was considered to be one of the main event matches of the entire show. I said last week, if this match doesn't open, and I thought that it would, then it's the main event. That if it didn't go first, it was going last. It's that important of a match. And it wasn't treated like it was important. It was a throwaway. He has like 4 or 5 appearances left, and he being John Cena. He's got about 4 or 5 appearances left. They burned one for essentially a squash match. And I'm going to be 100% honest still in saying there's no reason for it. They have one in their head. They have one that they've told one another. There isn't really one. This shouldn't have happened. Not in this fashion. Not in this way. And now we're hearing from people that going into the building, John Cena was going over. And then there was a conversation where they had changed. Again, I'm not sitting here suggesting Lesnar should have done the job. The issue isn't who won the match. The issue with people is the match. The fact that this is the way that it went. The fact that this is the way that it was booked. That they thought that this was going to be a great opening opportunity. It's the first match in the ESPN era of PLEs. That's the presentation that you give people. That wasn't the way to go. And to be honest with you, it soured the entire rest of the PLE. It really did. Everything that followed that was in trouble. A lot of trouble. Because the crowd, everything, they were chanting bullshit. This was not it. It was not it at all. And, you know, you don't want to paint the entire pay-per-view, PLE, whatever the hell. You don't want to paint everything in a bad light due to one thing, but it's really hard not to. In this particular case. It is extremely hard not to. Because this was the takeaway. I know everyone has a problem with a lot of the matches that took place here. One in particular that people look at and say, okay, that was the match. Everything after this. This is a prime example of a bad leadoff right here. This was a bad leadoff. And I feel bad for John because John was getting a lot of momentum. He was starting to get into the groove again. He was having great matches again. And then here we are. So, I don't know. This is a situation where they may be hurting a property like Brock Lesnar as opposed to helping. I don't know if this helps Brock Lesnar in any way. But we'll see. It was exactly that. It was 8 minutes, 50 seconds. It was below the 10-minute mark. It didn't seem like 8 minutes. It felt like 80 minutes. The standing around, Brock Lesnar's face went from white to pink to red to almost fucking purple. He was so blown the fuck up. Almost purple. He couldn't breathe fast enough. And, Cena just took a shit ton of bumps for no reason. And now we're hearing they're not even going to touch again, that they're moving John to something else. What a waste. What a waste. The next match, The Vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker taking on the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. And this was a Raw tag team match. That's all that it really was. Hyped entrance, of course. The Usos coming out there to the old Uso theme and then transitioning into Jay's Yeet theme. Dope. I'm a big music guy. I like paying attention to that stuff. Dope stuff. Match itself, it was a match that could have very easily been in the middle of a Raw somewhere. And I know everyone's pointing once again. They like to jump on the bandwagon. Jay with the injury, right? He swings the chair at Braun Breaker. He catches himself. Ha 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 ha. It is what it is. Shit happens. I'm not going to give the guy a tremendous amount of shit for it, to be honest with you. It is what it is. It happens. I've seen people get injured from the stupidest shit. I've told the story here. One of my good buddies, Whiplash, got a metal rod put in his foot because he bent his leg backwards from a baseball slide. It be like that. It's the simplest shit sometimes. It just kind of fucking happens. I'm not going to give him shit for that. That spot alone wouldn't have saved the fucking match any goddamn way. It didn't matter. This wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't a bad match. It was just a match. Nothing about this match felt special or inspiring or anything. And what it really did, honestly, more so than anything else, is it was more fuel for the fire of let's not do the Usos anymore. I've been saying it. No one's listening. Don't do the Usos anymore. Jay's got his own thing going. Jimmy's on the way up as a singles. We don't need this shit with the Usos anymore. It hurts the legacy. It hurts the legacy because they're just leave them alone. Just leave them to do what they're doing. Because at this point, all they're going to do is jobs, and you have to start asking yourself about diminutive returns. Is it worth it to continue to bring them out there? Not because it's a bad thing, like they can't work or whatever the case may be. It's just we're trying to make them into superstars. We're trying to make them into main event talent. That's what we're doing with the two Brawns as well, but the Usos are further ahead than the Brawns. We don't want to put over the Brawns at the expense of the Usos. We want to put the Brawns on the same level as the Usos, and that performance did not do that. At all. I don't think anybody walked away from that match and said, they really stood toe-to-toe with these guys. They're ready for the big time. I don't recall hearing that all too often. So, this match, 17 minutes, 12 seconds, this whole pay-per-view it was frustrating. It was frustrating because you're waiting for it, for the breakout, right? You're waiting for that breakout moment, which leads us to the next match because this was the match that everyone refers to now as the saving grace. Of all the matches that happened on this card, it looks like this one should have been your main event. Stephanie Vacour, Io Sky, the women's world title on the line. Io looking to recapture gold. Stephanie looking to capture it for the first time on the main roster. They balled out. They had a phenomenal match. Unfortunately, the damage was done by here. By here, the damage was done. A lot of viewers' focus was off the show by then. Now, people said this was a phenomenal tag team. This was a phenomenal title match. Io Sky clearly is one of the best in the world, and she's in there with Stephanie, who also happens to be one of the best in the world. These are two titans competing for a title. They're going one-on-one with each other. Phenomenal business, phenomenal stuff. And it was great. Down to the finish. That spiral tap was a thing of beauty. So many different things. This, where it was placed, right in the middle, it could have enhanced so many things. A hot start. into a decent bridge to this match, match 3, man, your pay-per-view would have been cooking, would have been sizzling right here. Instead of cooking and being on fire, and it's drowning. The show was drowning up until this point. And they needed something to keep it from going completely under, and this match did that. This match gave you hope that we can get this back on track. And we crowned a new champion. Stephanie Victoria is now the World Women's Champion. Congratulations to her. This was a great match. And then we moved on to what I thought would be the main event of the show. And maybe it should have, maybe it should not have, based on the story, based on all the action that took place. Perhaps it would have been a better idea for the main event than our main event, than the one that we got, I should say. But it was CM Punk, AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch, battle of the married couples. And this is the problem, 29 minutes, 18 seconds. Bullshit. There's your mistake. This had all the pieces together. I was digging the build. I was digging the promos. I was digging the interviews leading up to it when they had everybody seated down and they were asking them questions about the show. They had me. They absolutely had me. 29 minutes for the story that they were trying to tell. No good. No good. They were doing so many cool things in the beginning of this match, and this match was so good at the start. It was perfect. It was weird to see two grown men in the ring building up toward hot tags for their wives, which is usually the opposite, but it worked here. Because this is not your usual husband-wife combination. This is two of the best females in WWE history. In the ring, out of the ring, complete packages. These are women who know their fucking way around a wrestling ring. The expectation, the bar of expectation is high. And it's unfair because AJ Lee hasn't been in a ring competitively in front of an audience in 10 years. And Becky's never wrestled AJ ever in her entire career, so there's no chemistry developed just yet. So maybe it was unfair. But based on the promos, based on the build, based on everything that was happening, the anticipation was high. For sure, it was high. And they had a match that, if it would have been 10 minutes shorter, would have probably gone down as one of the best mixed tag team matches of all time. Just based on the story alone, and the things that they were accomplishing in the ring, it would have surely been considered one of the best ever. But once it passed that mark, it just wouldn't stop. They just kept going and 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 false finish, false finish, false finish, false finish. Now we have tandem table spots. Now we have that. All this match really did was expose AJ. That's all it really did. We refer to AJ, and fairly so, because that's what it felt like at the time. She was ahead of her time. Her promo ability, her ability in the ring, it was ahead of its time. Nobody at that time, when she was on top, was doing the shit she was doing. She was special. Now she's in a ring in the women's division with women who do shit like that all the time. That's a Tuesday for a lot of the women in the women's division. The shit that she used to do back in the day. The shit that made her seem special. It's not so special anymore. So now what it looks like is a person who hadn't been in the ring in 10 years. And that's not a knock. It literally was the first match she's had in years. She's going to bounce back from that. She's going to get even better. But for a showcase of her abilities, I'm assuming this is the reason they put her in a tag match to start. so that they could hide the deficiencies, get her some ring time, sharpen those skills. Then we could unleash her in the godliest of ways. But it wasn't like she was out of breath either. It wasn't like she was blown up. But it was just nonstop. It just kept going and going and going, and it just put her, I think, in an unfair position because she is not used to going. It's been a while. And I just kind of felt like they hung her out to dry on that one. I felt like they exposed her. I felt like they kind of put her in a really shitty position where she had to do way more than maybe she was capable of doing this early in her return. Punk and Seth got a chance to do what they were going to do, and that's fine. That's what they do. I have no idea where this feud's headed with Punk and Rollins. I know that there's a world title involved, and we'll get to that at some point. But all of a sudden, a beef between them pivoted to a beef between them and their wives. And you can't sustain that all the way through. So I'm personally just curious where they're going to be headed with this program and how they're going to get the wives out of it. Because that's where we're going to wind up at some point. We got to get to the real business here. That World Heavyweight Championship. So I don't know. We'll see. But this match was 29 minutes, and there's a good chance it probably shouldn't have been. Which leads me to the main event. Because that's another situation that I don't understand. Because I said it last week when we were going over the card and going over who was going to be competing against who and all this other stuff. I said it last week. This is the coldest Cody Rhodes has been since his return to WWE. This is the coldest that Drew McIntyre has been since his return to WWE. Both of these individuals, cold. Not a lot happening here. And I wasn't even opposed to the match. It's a good match. I didn't need them to be the main event. Somewhere in the middle would have been fine. Maybe even if you swap the mixed tag with this one. Maybe those 29 minutes don't feel so bad if they're the main event. Who knows? But Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre have a lot of chemistry. And this is not a knock, but two of the safest wrestlers you're going to find in WWE. They know the formula like the back of their hands. This was another Raw match. Nothing about this match felt big time. This pay-per-view was promised to be extraordinary. You've never seen stuff like this before. We're going to do some stuff tonight. You guys are going to be talking about it for years to come. And the pay-per-view happened on Saturday, and on Sunday, people didn't even remember that it happened. Cody Rhodes successfully defending his WWE Championship. Obviously, of course, because why would he not? And again, I don't even have a problem with Cody. But the ideology that was a main event match, I'm sorry. I don't buy into it. I didn't buy into it last week before it happened. They didn't do anything in that match to change my thought process on that. They had a match. Simple as the simple does. And we're getting to a point with Drew McIntyre where nobody is of the belief that he's going to win that title back. Every time he gets into a world title match, nobody believes he's going to win the title. Nobody. So that's going to start having some problems for Drew McIntyre's career. He's been in these title matches a million times. He never wins any of them. They always give him an out of some kind, so that there's an excuse to put him back in the title match another time. But he's not winning any of them. He just doesn't. He doesn't win any of the big matches, ever. Biggest match of his career about a year ago was the feud with Punk, and he lost that. Should have. But it's just another example of him taking another goddamn loss. I noticed, SmackDown is coming up this week, so maybe we'll see what he has to say about his loss at Wrestlepalooza. But where do you take Drew McIntyre from here? We said it on the show here that it's only a matter of time. He's a main event player waiting to happen. Hasn't happened. So I don't know where to take it. They're the ones telling the story. They're the ones who are supposed to be telling me where these characters and where these people are going next and where they're coming from. And stay tuned for more. But what's happening? I know Cody's doing the movie. So's Roman. A lot of moving parts. So a lot of people were also giving a lot of credence to ESPN, who had an individual. He rated, I guess you could say, the pay-per-view for the ESPN app and for the ESPN website. He gave it a grade. I'm trying to find. I had it up earlier. Hold on, the grade. So yeah, he gave it a C. The writer who graded it. He graded each match, and the average was a C. He graded it a C pay-per-view. And his grades, I got it here now in front of me. Stephanie Vakura and Io Sky, he gave a B+. The Vision and the Usos, he gave a C. Punk, Lee, and Rollins and Lynch also gave a C. Rhodes and McIntyre was a C, and he gave Lesnar and Cena a C-. And I can't even... The gentleman who wrote this article, his name is Andreas Hale. And if we're being real, I can't disagree with a lot of that shit. I don't want to be that guy, because this is probably a person at ESPN who doesn't have a whole lot of history with WWE. Probably doesn't really understand what he's grading, but he sees what he sees, and what he sees is what they presented. And what they presented was a C-level pay-per-view. And if we're going to continue to get this, even though it's 5 matches, 3 hours, whatever the case may be, this is going to hurt more than it helps. It just is what it is. It's going to hurt more than it helps. Can't say it any different than that. This was the first night on ESPN. First night. And this is what they chose to give. So, it is what it is. And the next pay-per-view, we're heading to Australia. No mercy. That's NXT. Crown Jewel in Australia. Rhea Ripley's going to be on the card, so that's a banger right there. Whoever she's in the ring with, that'll be the banger right there. And we'll see what happens. If we get Rhea Io for that pay-per-view and then Stephanie and another competitor for the world title, like Stephanie maybe in like an Asuka or something, that's 2 bangers right there. The women's division is trying to keep this goddamn company afloat. They're struggling right now. Is all the other divisions aside from the women. So we'll see. The women's division doesn't exactly have a clear path either. But so far, for the year, when we've talked about banger matches taking place at pay-per-views, we've been talking a lot about the women. So we'll see. We'll see how that works.